Hey everyone, I am down at Lake Michigan today. A lot of people, if you live within an hour or two of the lake, um, like to go down to it. It's just a very peaceful, serene place. In the summertime it can get a little nutsy, but as you can see, it's just a nice place to hang out. And where I am right now is in my car, but I'm in a park that's on the lake, and it has a somewhat busy set of trails, so it can get a little people-y, let's put it that way, to take video. So I'm back in my car right now. But before we get started, I wanted to just thank all of you that have sent me Christmas cards and packages. It was very nice of you. I really enjoy getting mail, so I really appreciate that. And I didn't think of it in time, but maybe in the future we'll do packages in a video so everybody else can see, and you can see my reaction, see how much I like it. But anyhow, this video has been a while in the making. Last winter, Paul and I talked about doing this video, and in actuality, doing a bunch of story videos, different things in my life, his life, and then our life together. And we weren't sure, if people really wanted to see that or not, but I thought a video on how we met would be good. But I did plan it to be with Paul, and so I didn't really think about doing it at all until recently. And I just thought it was something maybe you guys would like to hear. I was thinking of doing some more story videos in the future, but I'm not sure how much that kind of thing is wanted. So down in comments, let me know if you want to hear stuff like that or not, and we will let the yays or the nays decide. So anyhow, it all started in 2003, the summer of 2003, and I was divorced, living on the south side of Milwaukee and working at a hospital in downtown Milwaukee, or kind of like the east side of Milwaukee. And I think it was, I went over to my sister's house to visit, and she and her husband had told me that her husband had a new boss at work, and he thought it would be somebody I'd be interested in. Well, I wasn't really interested in dating at the time. I had been divorced a couple of years by then, and I still wasn't really sure about any of that. And I was very much involved in family life of not only my kids, but my extended family, like my sister, my nieces and nephews, stuff like that, but also my mom. My parents, but mainly my mom, had my grandma living with them because she had Alzheimer's, and she was bedridden, and so I went by my mom's house almost every day to visit, to help take care of grandma, if my mom needed to go to the store or the bank or anything like that. Well, on Fridays, I would stay for a few hours so then my parents could go out to dinner, and I would stay with grandma. Well, my sister and brother-in-law had said that they had set up this date for me with this new guy that Friday night. But it wasn't going to be just me and this guy. My sister and her husband were going to be meeting up with him, and then so was one of my brothers and his girlfriend. And I still was like, no, I don't feel like it. I have to watch grandma, and probably won't get out till after 9 o'clock. And this is, oh, just come on, meet us out for a drink. That's when I still had drinks. And I said, well, I don't know, maybe. And they're like, well, you have to because we already told him you'd be there. And, oh, wow, really? So I said, okay. And the place they told me to meet him is like, I don't know, back in the day, that was kind of a rough place. And in fact, we had never really been there before. It just had a bad reputation. And they said, no, it changed hands. It's good now. And blah, 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 whatever. Okay, so now remember, this is before cell phones. So anyhow, I left after my parents got home, and this was not quite a half-hour drive, but it was a distance. And I got there, got in the parking lot, and I didn't recognize any cars. I didn't see my sister's vehicle or my brother's vehicle. So I was like, what the heck? And I was a little more high-strung, too, so I was mad. And I'm like, what the? My sister had a cell phone, but I didn't. So I found a phone booth not far away, and I called her. And in fact, I called several times, and she never answered. So then I was really mad, and I don't know why, but I called my mom. And I'm like, you tell Denise if she calls, she could just forget it. I'm not waiting around anymore. I don't recognize any of these vehicles, and I'm definitely not walking into that place by myself. So there was a small tavern that I frequented, meaning once or twice a month, but I had friends there, and that was a ways off. So I just said, I'm going to go there and wait a little while. She'll know where I am if she wants to meet up with me or whatever. Well, eventually I got there, and within 15-20 minutes, she had called and said they were on their way. And her phone had been in her purse, so she didn't hear me calling her. That didn't do anything to lighten my mood at all. It's terrible, but I was just in a bad mood from there on out. And this tavern was a basement one. I don't know if you've ever been in any of those, but yeah, in the Milwaukee area, they're not that uncommon. So when people would walk by, you would see their feet and legs. And so I was kind of watching for them because I knew it'd be a group of people. And my sister had said, oh, you didn't recognize a vehicle because Laura, boyfriend's girlfriend, got a new van and we all came in that. It's like, well, it would have been nice if somebody had told me that. So anyways, I saw them coming, and I kind of just sat there waiting and watching the door, and they all came in laughing and smiling, having a good time, including Paul. He was laughing, and yeah, I was kind of smitten right away. However, that didn't change my attitude. I was still cranky. And it's too bad. I felt bad, but I talked with him a little bit, and he was very happy, friendly kind of guy. But I was a little more reserved myself, and I had my siblings there with their significant others, and there was just a lot of stuff going on, a lot of music playing, and I didn't get to talk to Paul a lot that first night. And after how cranky I wasn't so sure there was ever going to be a second night. Well, after a couple of hours, I just said, I need to get going. I need to get home because I got to be to work in the morning. And it was my weekend to work at the hospital. And the weekends were nice because they were really low key. There weren't visitors, or very few. It's just a lot of stuff wasn't going on. The hustle and bustle of the week isn't normally there on the weekends. So, but I still had to be there, pretty early in the morning. And actually, I was mad at myself for kind of ruining the evening for myself. And I was almost like kind of embarrassed for myself over the way I had acted. And I wasn't so sure I'd ever get a phone call again from Paul. So the next day after work, I went back to my sister's house. And she, of course, was being a little coy, like, oh, hey, how was work, this and that, not mentioning a word about Paul. And shortly thereafter, her husband came in, and he mentioned Paul. And he said Paul wanted to know if he could call you. And I was kind of a little blown away by that. And my sister, oh yeah, she says what she means or means what she says. I can't believe he wants to call you after the way you acted and this and that. And I'm like, yeah, true. But I'm like, yeah, that's okay. Tell him he can call me. He can give me a call. And for the next week or two, we talked every day on the phone for hours. And it was really nice. I really got to know him. And, that's when I told him about all my kids. And he told me about his. And, just talked about the things we had in common, anything and everything. You know how that goes. And we had our first date. And the weird thing with that was our very first date, he takes me out to dinner, and literally sitting across from us is an ex-boyfriend of mine. And the good thing about that was that ex-boyfriend wanted to run into me about as much as I had wanted to run into him. So both of us made sure not to really make any kind of eye contact or anything at all like that, because he was with a date too. So we continued to date for a while, and I just was thoroughly enjoying myself. And then I remember that Halloween, we had taken the young kids trick-or-treating. My youngest at the time was Jeremy, and his were Michael and Brianna, and we had gone with my sister and her kids. And, we're just walking up and down the streets. In the Milwaukee area, we do trick-or-treating the Sunday before Halloween, 1 to 4 in the afternoon. They figure it's just safer that way because it's daylight, and people can see the kids easier, and it's just a safer environment. So that's how they do it. But anyhow, I remember walking down the street thinking how wonderful it was. After being alone for those few years, I really enjoyed the feeling of having a companion again. And I remember saying to myself, Sandy, now remember this. Down the road, if you ever get angry at him, if you're ever in a bad mood or something like that, remember how good this feels. Remember how nice it is to have someone to talk to and ask you about your day when you come home from work. Somebody you can share your worries about your kids, or money, or just life in general. Someone to bring to the family picnic with you and come down to the lake with, and just someone to share your life with, someone who cares. And until then, I don't think I had really realized how much I had missed that. I think I had become pretty jaded. My divorce was not a good one at all. Very few are. So, yeah, I don't think I realized what kind of place I was in until I met Paul. And he was so kind and generous and thoughtful. And it was just wonderful. So anyway, that is how Paul and I met. It was all thanks to my sister and brother-in-law. And she lets me know every now and again to thank her for that. And I do thank her for that. And yeah, a lot of stuff has gone on since we met. But I was blessed the day that that happened. I truly was. Thanks for listening, everybody. And you have a great day.